At 11:47 on a Tuesday night, my neighbor knocked on my door for the first time. Elise Harper had lived in 4B for 11 months. In all that time, I had heard her say exactly 7 words to me. 3 were, "Your package is downstairs." 4 were, "I think this is yours." Both conversations had ended with her looking at the floor and disappearing behind her door before I could answer. So when I opened mine and found her standing there in gray sweatpants, a raincoat, and one sock darker than the other, I thought something terrible had happened. Her hands were wrapped around her phone so tightly that her knuckles had gone white. "Are you okay?" I asked. She nodded, then shook her head. Behind her, the hall light flickered once. She glanced toward the stairwell, as if someone might be listening. "My sister is getting married on Saturday," she said. Her voice was softer than I expected, but steady. "Okay? My ex is the best man." I waited. "My mother thinks we should get back together. My uncle thinks the same thing. My ex definitely thinks the same thing." She swallowed. "I need a boyfriend for 4 days." I stared at her. "A fake one," she added. That should have made the request easier to understand. It did not. Then she looked directly at me for the first time since she moved in and said, "I need someone who won't let them speak for me." That was the moment I stopped thinking she had chosen the wrong door. Before I tell you why I said yes, take a second to like and subscribe, and tell me this. Would you agree to a fake relationship if the person asking looked genuinely afraid to go alone? I stepped aside. "You should come in." Elise entered like she was crossing a legal boundary. She stayed near the door while I moved a stack of mail off the chair by my kitchen table. She sat. I gave her water. She took one sip and placed the glass carefully on a coaster, even though I had never used one in my life. "My sister's wedding is at my family's inn in Door County," she said. "We leave Thursday morning. The ceremony is Saturday. There's a family business meeting Sunday before everyone drives home." "We?" Her cheeks colored. That part was supposed to come later. I leaned against the counter. "How fake are we talking?" "Convincing enough that people stop putting Grant next to me at dinner." "Grant is the ex?" "Yes." "How long were you together?" 6 years. Engaged for 8 months. "Why me?" I asked. She looked at my hands, not my face. "You're quiet. Most people don't describe me that way. You don't fill silence just because it's there." I had no answer to that. She continued. "You helped Mrs. Alvarez carry groceries without making her explain why her son wasn't there. You fixed the lobby bench and never put your business card on it. When the fire alarm went off in January, you stood outside with my cat carrier because I was shaking too hard to hold it." I remembered the alarm. I remembered her orange cat glaring at me through the plastic door. I had not realized Elise remembered me. "And," she said, "you don't like Grant." "I've never met Grant." "You heard him through my wall in March." I had. A man had spent 20 minutes telling her she was making everything harder. He had never shouted. Somehow, that had made it worse. "I don't like people who use a calm voice to say cruel things," I admitted. For the first time, the corner of her mouth lifted. "We made rules. No kissing unless discussed first. No sharing a room. No lying about serious things. If someone asked how we met, we would say the laundry room, because it was technically true. If she squeezed my wrist twice, she wanted to leave. If she tapped one finger against her thumb, she needed me to ask whether she wanted to speak for herself or wanted me to repeat what she had already said. "That's very specific," I said. "It needs to be." "What happens at the business meeting?" Her shoulders tightened. "Grant wants me to sign something." "What kind of something?" "A release. It says the renovation plans for the inn belong to the family company and that I have no further claim to them." "You drew the plans?" "I designed them. Grant presented them to the bank after I left." "Does your family know?" "They know his version." "What's his version?" "That I abandoned the project during a breakdown and he finished it." I felt my jaw set. "And your version?" "I left after he announced our engagement at a bank dinner without asking me, then told everyone I was unstable when I said I needed time. I finished the first full plan before I left. I have dated files and emails. The new version he submitted still has a structural mistake I warned him about." "Why haven't you shown them?" She looked toward my dark window. "Because every time I try, someone says we can discuss it after the wedding, after the loan, after the season, after Grant has had a chance to explain." There is always an after. And Sunday? Sunday is the deadline. If I sign, the bank moves forward Monday. If she did not sign, the inn might lose financing. If she did, Grant kept her work, and her family got to pretend nothing had happened. I could see why they wanted her quiet. I could also see why she wanted a witness. You understand I can't be your lawyer, I said. I already have one. She reviewed everything. She told me not to sign. Good. I don't need you to save me. Also good. I need you to stand next to me long enough for them to realize I'm not alone. Instead, I said, "What time do we leave Thursday?" Elise let out a breath that sounded like she had been holding it since March. Wednesday evening, she came back with a yellow legal pad titled Rules for Caleb in neat block letters. You made a training manual? I asked. You asked how convincing we need to be. I was joking. I know. That surprised me more than it should have. We sat at my kitchen table and built the history of a relationship that had never happened. Our first date was at a taco place near the lake. Our second was canceled because I had food poisoning. She insisted that detail made us believable. How long have we been together? I asked. 4 months. Too long. I would have mentioned you to Mrs. Alvarez. 2 months. Too short for a family wedding. 3? 3 works. She wrote it down. What do I call you? I asked. Elise. I meant in front of people. She stared at me. No pet names, she said. Understood, sweetheart. Her eyes widened. Then she laughed. It was not a delicate laugh. It came out sudden and low, and she covered her mouth like she had broken another rule. I smiled before I could stop myself. There, I said. That's our first chemistry problem. Her face warmed. We don't have a chemistry problem. Good. I hate homework. We practiced casual touches because she said her family would notice if we stood 3 feet apart all weekend. I put my hand lightly at the middle of her back. She stiffened, then nodded. Again, she said. The second time, she did not stiffen. When she touched my forearm, her fingers were cool. She withdrew too quickly and tried again. By the 4th attempt, the whole exercise felt less like acting and more like learning a language neither of us had expected to need. Then she asked, "Why did your engagement end?" The question was so direct that I nearly laughed. I thought shy people were supposed to avoid personal questions. I'm shy, not incurious. I looked at the legal pad. Her name was Brooke. We were together 5 years. She wanted to move to Denver and open a studio. I kept saying we should wait until my business was more stable. Then until the lease ended. Then until after my dad's surgery. What happened? She stopped asking. Elise was quiet. I thought waiting was responsible, I said. To her, it looked like I was keeping 1 foot out the door. Were you? That was the thing about people who did not speak often. When they did, they tended not to waste the sentence. Yes, I said, not because I didn't love her, because I was scared that choosing one life meant losing all the others. And then, I lost that one anyway. Elise drew a small line under our fake anniversary date. I don't want anyone to choose me because they're hiding from something else. I won't. She looked up. That wasn't part of the fake relationship. I know. Thursday morning, I loaded our bags into my old green SUV. Elise brought 1 small suitcase, 1 garment bag, a portfolio tube, and a hard plastic case full of documents. Her orange cat watched us from the apartment window, under the supervision of Mrs. Alvarez, who had agreed to feed him. Mrs. Alvarez came downstairs in slippers to inspect me. So, she said, looking from Elise to me, finally. Elise almost dropped her coffee. I said, "We were trying to be private." Mrs. Alvarez patted my cheek. "At your age, privacy is how people waste good years." Elise made a choking sound that might have been a laugh. The drive north took a little over 4 hours. After Milwaukee, the road opened, the sky got bigger, and Elise started pointing out old barns with roof lines she liked. She noticed everything: drainage ditches, window placement, a roadside church with a ramp too steep for a wheelchair, a motel sign where 3 letters had burned out. "You look at buildings the way I look at furniture," I said. "How is that?" "Like they're telling you what somebody cared about and what they ignored." She turned toward the window, but I saw her smile reflected in the glass. We stopped at a diner outside Sheboygan. While we waited for burgers, she slid her phone across the table. On the screen was a photo of the inn. 3 stories of weathered white siding, green shutters, and a wide porch facing the lake. My grandparents bought it in 1978, she said. They did most of the repairs themselves. My mother grew up there. Claire and I spent every summer folding towels and sneaking cherries from the kitchen. It looks beautiful. It is. It's also sinking 2 inches on the east side. The electrical system needs replacement, and the ballroom exits don't meet current capacity rules. Romance survives another inspection. She smiled, then zoomed in on a rendering. Her design preserved the original porch and ballroom, but added a new service wing, better exits, accessible guest rooms, and a terrace built around an old maple tree. It's good, I said. You don't have to say that. I build things for a living. I know when space makes sense. She looked at me carefully, as if deciding whether praise could be trusted. Grant's version removes the accessible rooms and cuts through the maple roots, she said. It saves money in the first year. It also increases flood risk and may kill the tree. Why would the bank prefer it? Because he showed them a cheaper number and called my version unrealistic. And the mistake? He used an old soil report. The new service wing would sit over fill dirt. If they build it his way, the foundation may settle. I handed back the phone. Then Sunday isn't about credit. No, her voice tightened. It's about whether they build something unsafe, because admitting I was right would be inconvenient. When we reached the inn, the parking lot was full of rental cars and flower delivery vans. A handwritten sign pointed guests toward welcome drinks on the porch. Elise went still in the passenger seat. I turned off the engine. Do you want me to say something or just stay here? Stay. So I stayed. After a minute, she opened her hand. Crescent marks from her fingernails showed in her palm. I used to be good at this, she said. At weddings? At this family. I did not tell her she was still good at it. That would have been exactly the kind of empty reassurance people gave when they wanted discomfort to end. Instead, I said, we can go in for 10 minutes. If you squeeze my wrist twice, we leave for an hour. No explanation. She nodded. Then, without warning, she reached over and took my hand. For the porch, she said. Of course. Her palm was warm now. The first person to see us was Claire, the bride. She came down the porch steps in white jeans and a sweatshirt that said bride, carrying a roll of ribbon in her teeth. She looked like Elise around the eyes but moved through the world, as if every room had been waiting for her. Elise! She shouted. She hugged her sister hard, then stepped back and stared at our joined hands. Oh, she said. Elise's fingers tightened around mine. I smiled. I'm Caleb. Claire's face lit up. The neighbor? Elise blinked. I mentioned him? You complained about his power sander at 7 in the morning. That was one time, I said. It was 3 Saturdays, Elise replied automatically. Claire looked between us and grinned. Okay, I believe this. For one dangerous second, so did I. Elise's mother appeared before Claire could ask anything else. Diane Harper wore linen, pearls, and the strained expression of a woman whose daughter had arrived with an unscheduled guest 3 days before a wedding. Elise, she said, kissing the air beside her cheek. You made it. Then she looked at me. This is Caleb, Elise said, my boyfriend. The words sounded rehearsed, but her hand stayed in mine. Diane smiled without relaxing. How unexpected. That was the idea, I said. Elise glanced at me, and I could tell she was trying not to laugh. Diane led us onto the porch, where introductions came in waves. Aunt Melissa, Uncle Rob, cousins whose names I forgot immediately, Claire's fiancé, Ben, who hugged Elise and shook my hand with genuine warmth. Every few minutes, someone asked how long we had been together, and Elise answered, 3 months, with increasing confidence. Then Grant walked out of the inn. He was tall, clean-cut, and dressed like he expected a photographer at all times. Grant looked patient, reasonable, slightly disappointed in everyone around him. His eyes moved from Elise to me, to our hands. Well, he said, that explains why you stopped answering. Elise's grip changed. One finger tapped her thumb. I turned to her. Do you want to answer, or do you want me to repeat what you've already told him? The porch went quiet. Her family watched us with the focused stillness people usually saved for dropped glass. Elise lifted her chin. I stopped answering because I asked you to contact my lawyer. Grant's smile held. I meant personally. I know. He looked at me. Grant Mercer. Caleb Mason. We shook hands. His grip was firm, his smile practiced. I hope you know what you're stepping into, he said lightly. I stepped onto a porch. Claire coughed into her fist. Ben looked down to hide a grin. Grant released my hand. Dinner's at 7. Your room is upstairs, Elise. Same one as always. Caleb has a room at the motel, she said. Diane frowned. Nonsense. We have space. We agreed, Elise began. Actually, Grant said, the only open room is the small one beside yours. Convenient. He wanted me inside the inn where he could watch us. I could feel that before Elise's hand tightened again. She said, fine. Caleb can take it. The room beside hers had a narrow bed, a sloping ceiling, and a window facing the lake. I put down my bag and found Elise standing in the connecting doorway between our rooms. I didn't know there was a connecting door, she said. I can put a chair under the handle. Her shoulders lowered. Thank you. I think Grant suspects us. Grant suspects everyone of doing whatever he would do. That sounds exhausting. It was. She sat on the edge of my bed and pressed both hands against her knees. Downstairs, laughter rose through the old floorboards. You did it, I said. Did what? You answered him. Because you asked instead of answering for me. I wanted to say something clever. Instead, I said, I can keep doing that. Her eyes met mine. That's why I picked you. At dinner, Diane seated Grant across from Elise and me beside her. The meal began with wedding stories. Claire told everyone how Ben proposed in the frozen food aisle because he had forgotten the ring at home and panicked when their song came over the store speakers. Ben defended himself by pointing out that she had said yes beside 30 bags of peas. Elise laughed easily with her sister. Around everyone else, she seemed to ration her words. Grant waited until the main course arrived. So, Caleb, he said, what do you do? I restore furniture and build custom pieces. A carpenter. That's one word for it. And you met Elise in your building? The laundry room. How romantic. You'd be surprised what good lighting can do for a row of dryers. A few people laughed. Grant did not. He turned to Elise. You never said you were dating. We weren't speaking. I was giving you space. You came to my apartment 3 times. To resolve the plans. I told you to contact my lawyer. Diane set down her fork. Could we please not do this tonight? Grant gave her a grateful smile. Of course. This is Claire's weekend. The trick was clean. He had brought up the conflict, then made Elise look like the one refusing peace. I felt her knees shaking beneath the table. I placed my hand on the chair between us, palm up. She looked down, then rested her fingers in mine. Grant saw. His expression changed for half a second. Not heartbreak, annoyance. That told me more than any shouting could have. After dinner, the family moved into the ballroom to test music for the reception. Claire pulled Elise onto the dance floor. Ben dragged me after them. You two need practice, Claire said. We're excellent dancers, I told her. Elise shook her head. He stepped on me in the laundry room. That was a sock. Music started through portable speakers. I put one hand at Elise's waist and took her other hand. She was stiff for the first few steps, watching my feet. Look at me, I said. That seems unsafe. I restore tables. I understand legs. That sentence made things worse. She laughed again, and the tension left her shoulders. We moved slowly beneath strings of unfinished lights. Her dress was simple blue cotton. Her hair had come loose near one ear. Then she looked up at me, still smiling, and I forgot the next step. I stepped on her shoe. I knew it, she said. You distracted me. With what? I should have lied. You smiled. Her smile disappeared, not because she was offended, but because the air between us had changed. From the edge of the ballroom, someone clapped slowly. Grant. Convincing, he said. Elise stepped away from me. Later, I found her on the back steps overlooking the lake. The inn was loud behind us, but the water was black and still. She had wrapped both arms around herself. Did he always do that? I asked. Do what? Make you question a good moment the second you had it. She sat down. I sat one step below her, leaving space. When we first met, he liked that I was quiet, she said. He said I made him feel calm. Later, he started telling people what I meant before I could answer. At restaurants, at meetings, with my own family. If I corrected him, he said I was tired or overwhelmed. Did no one notice? They noticed that he was helpful. The bitterness in her voice was brief and sharp. I let it happen, she said. No, I did. You adapted to someone who punished you for resisting. That isn't permission. She looked at me for a long time. My therapist says things like that, she said. Your therapist is probably smarter than a man who spent 6 hours repairing a chair because he refused to read the manufacturer's instructions. Probably. A small smile returned. Then she said, the family meeting isn't really Sunday. I waited. The bank representative is coming tomorrow afternoon. Grant moved it up. He emailed me while we were driving. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were already here, and I thought you might decide this was more than you agreed to. It is more than I agreed to. Her face closed. I continued. So we adjust the agreement. You're not angry? I'm not thrilled you hit it. I'm sorry. But I'm not leaving. The words came out faster than I expected. Elise studied me. Why? Because Grant had watched her laugh like it belonged to him. Because her family treated her silence as an empty space they were entitled to fill. Because I had begun the weekend pretending to be someone who chose her, and the pretending was becoming the least honest part of it. I said only, you asked me to stand next to you. She reached down and took my hand again. This time there was no porch. Friday morning began with rain and a crisis involving 6 missing centerpieces. I spent 2 hours carrying boxes, tightening a loose porch rail, and being introduced as Elise's boyfriend to people who accepted the information with more enthusiasm than Elise's mother had. Elise worked beside Claire in the ballroom, arranging place cards and answering questions in short, efficient bursts. When Grant entered, she did not stop what she was doing. The bank meeting is at 3, he said. I saw the email. You need to be reasonable today. She placed a card at table 9. Reasonable means I sign? It means you stop risking the in over hurt feelings. I was 10 feet away, holding a ladder. Every part of me wanted to cross the room. Elise looked at me once. No wrist squeeze, no finger tap. So I stayed where I was. My objection is technical, she said. The soil report is outdated. The East Foundation in your plan is unsafe. Grant lowered his voice. You always do this. You turn emotion into a technical argument so no one can reach you. Elise's face went pale, but she answered. And you turn technical arguments into emotion so no one has to check your work. Claire, standing near the stage, slowly set down a box of candles. Grant noticed the audience. We'll discuss this privately. No, Elise said. We'll discuss it with the bank. He walked out. I waited until the door closed, then went to her. You okay? No. Do you want to leave? No. She looked at the ladder in my hand. But you can tell me I did well. You did very well. She nodded once, as if accepting a fact into evidence. The bank representative arrived at 3 with a laptop and the cautious expression of someone who had been told she was walking into a family disagreement. Her name was Sandra Liu. Diane, Uncle Rob, Grant, Elise and I met in a small library off the lobby. Claire insisted on joining, though Diane told her she had enough to worry about. Elise placed her hard case on the table and opened it. Inside were printed plans, dated emails, engineering notes, and a letter from her attorney. Grant leaned back. Is Caleb really necessary? Elise tapped one finger to her thumb. I asked, do you want to answer? Yes. She looked at Grant. Caleb is here because I invited him. He will not speak unless I ask. Sandra glanced at me, then at Elise. That works for me. For the next 40 minutes, Elise spoke more than I had heard her speak in 11 months. Not loudly, not quickly. She walked Sandra through the dates, the soil reports, and the changes between her plan and Grant's version. When Grant interrupted, Sandra asked him to wait. When Diane said the family could settle credit later, Elise brought the conversation back to safety. Then Grant produced a signed email printout. This is from Elise, he said. It says I could make whatever revisions were necessary. Elise read it. I watched her expression change. "I wrote this before the new soil report," she said. "It does not say that. It refers to revisions for the bank presentation, not ownership. You left the project. I left our engagement. I did not give you permission to remove my name." Diane pressed her fingers to her temple. "Elise, no one was trying to erase you." Elise looked at her mother. "My name is not on a single page." The room went silent. Sandra closed the folder. "I can't approve the loan today. I need an independent engineer to review the foundation issue and legal clarification on the plans." Grant stood. "That delay could cost us the contractor. It could also prevent a failed foundation," Sandra replied. The meeting ended without a signature. Outside the library, Diane turned on Elise. "You could have warned me before bringing a bank officer into this. I tried for 6 months. Not like this." "What way would have been acceptable?" "Not 2 days before your sister's wedding." Grant moved the meeting. "And you came prepared to fight." Elise's breathing changed. I saw her right hand close around her left wrist. I stepped closer but did not touch her. Diane looked at me. "This is a family matter." Elise tapped her thumb once. I asked the question, "Do you want me to say something, or stay while you do?" "Say what I told you in the car," she whispered. I faced Diane. "Elise said there is always an after. After the wedding. After the loan. After the season. She came because Sunday was supposed to be the deadline, and Grant moved it without asking her." Diane's anger shifted, not gone but uncertain. Claire stepped between them. "Mom, I asked Elise to come. I want her here, and I don't want my wedding used as a reason she has to sign something unsafe." That was the first crack in the family's wall. It should have been enough for one day. It was not. That evening, Claire found the yellow legal pad. I had left it on the small desk in my room beneath my wallet. Claire came looking for a phone charger while I was downstairs helping Ben move tables. She read the title, "Rules for Caleb," and the first 3 lines, 3 months together, laundry room, no kissing without discussion. When I returned, she was standing in the hall holding it. "What is this?" she asked. My first thought was to protect Elise. My second was that lying to Claire on the night before her wedding would make everything worse. The mistake was believing those were my only choices. "Elise asked me to come as her fake boyfriend," I said. Claire stared at me. "But I care about her," I added. "This stopped feeling fake before we got here. You need to tell her I know." "I will." A door opened behind us. Grant stood at the end of the hall. He looked at the pad in Claire's hand, then at me. "I knew it," he said. By the time I found Elise, Grant had already told Diane and Uncle Rob. He did it in the ballroom, in front of half the wedding party, framing it as concern. He said Elise had hired a stranger to manipulate the family and sabotage the loan. Elise stood near the dance floor while everyone looked at her. I went toward her. "Elise, did you tell Claire?" "Yes." Her face emptied. "I found the list," Claire said quickly. "I asked him directly." Elise kept looking at me. "And you answered." "I thought lying would make it worse." "You thought. I should have asked you first." "Yes," Grant said. "This is exactly what I've been trying to explain. She creates a crisis, then recruits someone to support her version." I turned on him. "You don't get to—" Elise raised one hand. I stopped. She looked at me, and the hurt in her eyes was worse because it was quiet. "You promised not to speak for me," she said. "I know." "No, you promised not to decide when my truth belonged to someone else." She was right. I wanted to explain that I had been cornered, that Claire deserved honesty, that Grant had overheard by chance. So I said, "You're right. I'm sorry." She handed me my room key. "I need you to leave." The entire ballroom seemed to hold its breath. I took the key. Then I left. I drove to the motel in the rain with the yellow legal pad on the passenger seat. For the first 20 minutes, I kept rehearsing messages that would make me look better. I deleted every one. At midnight, I sent Elise 3 sentences. "I was wrong to tell Claire without asking you. I will not return unless you invite me. If you need a written statement about what I heard or saw, I will give you one, and say nothing beyond it." Then I turned off my phone and sat in the dark. I had spent years telling myself I was careful with people. The truth was less flattering. I was careful with my own discomfort. When uncertainty became painful, I made decisions quickly and called them practical. Brooke had asked me to choose a future, and I had delayed until she chose one without me. Elise had asked me to let her control her own story, and the first time honesty became complicated, I took control. At 9 the next morning, someone knocked on my motel door. It was Claire, still in hair rollers, with a wedding robe under her raincoat. "Elise is not coming to the ceremony," she said. My chest tightened. Because of me? Because Mom told her she should apologize to Grant before family photos. I grabbed my jacket. Claire blocked the doorway. "She didn't ask for you." I stopped. "That's why I'm here instead of bringing you back," she said. "I need you to understand something. Elise has spent years around people who say they're helping while deciding what she needs. Do not become one more." "I won't." Claire studied me. "Do you love her?" "Yes." "Then wait until she chooses what to do with that." She left. Waiting had always been my favorite way to avoid action. That morning, it became something else. I wrote the statement Elise might need. I listed the time Grant moved the meeting, the comments I heard, and exactly what Elise asked me to repeat to her mother. I did not add opinions. I emailed it to her lawyer, copied Elise, and returned to my room. At 11:30, my phone rang. Elise said, "Are you still nearby?" "Yes." "I'm going to the wedding." "Okay?" My mother apologized. Not perfectly, but honestly. Claire refused to take photos until she did. I smiled. That sounds like Claire. I told everyone the relationship was fake. My hand tightened around the phone. And I told them asking you was the first honest thing I had done in months. I closed my eyes. "Caleb, I don't need a fake boyfriend anymore. I know. I need someone who can stand beside me without taking over. I want to be that person. I'm not finished. Sorry." She took a breath. "I also need someone who tells me when he is scared instead of making a decision for both of us. I can do that. Not perfectly, but honestly." "Come back," she said. "Not as my boyfriend, not yet. Come as you." I was at the inn in 12 minutes. The ceremony took place under the old maple tree, the one Grant's renovation would have damaged. Rainwater shone on the leaves. Claire walked down the aisle laughing because her veil caught on a branch. Ben cried before she reached him. Sat in the last row. Elise sat with her family near the front. She did not look back until the vows were over. When she found me, she smiled. At the reception, Grant kept his distance. Sandra had already scheduled the independent review. Diane told Elise the family would not sign or build until the review was complete, and her name would be restored to every page she had created. It was not a magical repair. Grant did not confess. Diane did not suddenly understand every year of damage. But the decision changed, and for once, Elise did not have to surrender something to keep the peace. After dinner, she found me on the back steps where we had talked the night before. "You came," she said. "You asked." She sat beside me. Music drifted through the open ballroom doors. "I was angry with you," she said. "You should have been." "I'm still a little angry." "That also seems fair. But when you left, you didn't punish me for asking. You didn't tell everyone I was overreacting. You just left. I wanted to argue." "I know. I was afraid if I left, Grant would win. He didn't." "No." I looked at her. "You didn't let him." She rested her shoulder against mine. "What happens now?" I asked. "You tell me the truth." So I did. "I fell for you somewhere between the diner and the ballroom. Maybe earlier. I don't want 4 fake days to become another excuse for me to wait until certainty arrives. It never does. I want a real first date. I want to learn what you say when you don't have to plan the sentence. And I want you to be able to tell me no without wondering whether I'll disappear." Elise looked down at our hands. "I fell for you when you stayed in the car without trying to cheer me up," she said. "But I'm not ready to go from fake boyfriend to real boyfriend in one weekend." Disappointment hit, but it did not frighten me. "Then we don't." She looked up. "You're not going to negotiate?" "I build tables. I negotiate about tables." Her laugh returned, warm and unguarded. "How about dinner Tuesday?" she asked. "A real date?" "A first one." I held out my hand. "No pet names?" "Still a rule." She took my hand. 3 months later, at 11:47 on a Tuesday night, Elise knocked on my door again. This time she wore a green dress, held 2 movie tickets, and kissed me before I could ask whether she was okay. "I thought kissing required discussion," I said. "We discussed it on date 6. You keep excellent records." "I'm an architect." Behind her, Mrs. Alvarez opened her door 2 inches, saw us, and closed it with satisfaction. Elise smiled at me. She was still quiet with strangers. She still paused when rooms got loud. I still sometimes moved too quickly when I was scared. She had once asked me to pretend to choose her so other people would stop choosing for her. In the end, the part that became real was not the hand-holding or the wedding photos. It was learning that love could stand beside someone without standing in front of them. If this story stayed with you, like and subscribe. Then tell me in the comments, what matters more in a relationship? Having someone defend you, or having someone trust you enough to let you speak for yourself?